But anyway, what's going on, everybody? This is a little bit of an unorthodox episode. We have one of our guests that's on the way back from the hospital right now. What I'm going to do this time, I normally introduce everyone, but I'm going to let you guys introduce yourselves. Jesse, you want to start off for us?
Sure. My name's Jesse. Normal dude. Nothing special about me. I like movies. John and I met in college in Macomb. That's pretty much it. I mean,
we all sang together too in the choir and stage band, by the way.
That's right.
And from the top. No, I'm just kidding.
Introduce yourself, Luke.
My name is Luke Vincent. I am a professional goofball, and I also was in choir with John and Jesse. And I have no qualifications to speak on Marvel or DC matters other than being extremely opinionated.
That's pretty much all of us. I think we can all fit into that category. Today, we're going to, with all that being said, like we said earlier, we're not experts on any of this subject matter. We do have opinions, and recently there have been a lot of rumblings and rumors. At the moment, that's all this is right now currently is just rumors. However, there's been a lot of speculation, first of all, that Charlie Cox's version of Matthew Murdock, Daredevil, will be featured in the new Spider-Man film, which is apparently going to be bringing people from Venom, from the old Spider-Man films. I mean, it's just going to be a cornucopia of crazy new characters that are going to pop up in that thing. And also, there's been talks and speculations that Kingpin, the original actor, I think his name is Vincent D'Onofrio. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right. Anyway, there's been recent speculation that he is going to be returning as well, whether it be in a Marvel movie or in a Disney Plus show, more specifically, the Hawkeye Disney Plus show that's coming out in a few months. Anyway, we lost Luke Vineyard there. There he is. He's back. So anyway, we're just going to discuss our feelings briefly on the Netflix series, if we have any opinions on it at all, I guess, and what we think of those characters returning. Unless anyone wants to start off, I guess I could kind of start us off here with this.
Well, I'll just go ahead and say, I'm not super familiar with those Netflix shows themselves, but I'm super excited about the multiverse thing and what's going on with Spider-Man and kind of the speculations there. I hope they don't get too crazy with it, but at the same time, I think that there's possibility of it really being awesome. And I love watching crossover stuff. It's really cool to see stuff like that. If the rumors are true, I'll be happy to see it.
Oh yeah, everybody likes a good crossover, and it really opens the door of possibility like way more wide than it ever has been. There's even talk. At this point, this is strictly rumors. So we're not reporting this as to be fact or anything like that, but there's possibilities that we could see the version of Hugh Jackman playing Wolverine come back maybe for a brief cameo in this movie. We know that Hugh Jackman has played that character for over 17 years, and he's not really interested in like getting so jacked anymore to play that role at like the age of 51. I think he's like 47, 51, somewhere in that neighborhood. But I mean, it takes a lot of work to get into shape like that. I personally have never been in shape like that in my entire life. Probably the best shape that I was in was maybe a little bit right before college, but so I get it. But anyway, I digress about the shape of my body. So we're losing Mr. Vineyard there. He's getting pretty shaky.
Can you hear me now?
I can.
Okay, yeah. So you're saying they're going to copy DC, and they did Grandpa Batman. They're going to do Grandpa Wolverine now?
Whoa. Wait a minute. DC hasn't done anything like this yet.
Well, I mean, the whole recent Batman versus Superman, like Justice League, Batman's supposed to be more old in that version, right?
I don't know what you're talking about right now, Luke. Are you talking about the Ben Affleck version of Batman?
Yeah, that's like what everybody talks about is how he's supposed to be like that's supposed to represent an old jaded Batman who's sick of putting up with, these youngins and all their stuff. That's how everybody talks about it.
Well,
And
yeah,
he's kind of like an older guy.
He's a more mature version of the character, but if anything, fans and audiences could say that DC is kind of trying to once again jump onto the coattails of Marvel, so to speak, because Marvel announced that they were going to be doing this multiverse movie with the Spider-Man thing in December. Oh, next year, all of a sudden, DC is going to be doing the Flashpoint. But it's a storyline that's going to be similar where they're going to be taking different characters from different multiverses, like the version of Batman played by Michael Keaton. And, we're going to have multiple different Flashes and things like that. So it's a similar concept, but DC's doing it after Marvel does it. But anyway, personally, the way I feel about those Netflix shows, most of them were terrible, with the exception of Daredevil was a phenomenal show to me from top to bottom. All 3 seasons were just gold. Okay. Then you have Jessica Jones that was a little more controversial. Jessica Jones, like the first season was decent, and then the second one got really weird. Most audiences were kind of split on Jessica Jones. Luke Cage, the same thing. It was more so specifically with the first season. The first half of season 1 was just amazing. Then the last half of season 1 kind of went towards like 2003, super cheesy superhero movie territory pretty quick. Iron Fist is universally hated, okay? But then you also have some other shining examples in there. You have the Vincent D'Onofrio that played Kingpin, and you also have Jon Bernthal, the Walking Dead alumni that played the new version of Punisher. So there's some characters and actors that are beloved by audiences in that bunch. Then there are some that aren't loved so much. Personally, I think that it would be neat to see them in the multiverse movie. But after that, just like any other characters that you bring in, like a Hugh Jackman, I think those characters just need to go away for good after this movie's over. I think, yeah, sure, it would be fun to see them bring them in once for a cameo. But after that, we need to reboot Jessica Jones. We need to reboot Iron Fist big time. We need to reboot all these characters. Charlie Cox is a decent actor, okay? But I think he's a little overrated just because of how good the storytelling was and the creative just overall on that TV show. Magically, just like that, Mr. Vincent is in his civilian clothing. So that's my opinion on it. What do you guys think? Do you have any thoughts on that?
Well, I'll just say, as far as the movie's concerned, and just kind of coattailing off a little bit of what you said, I don't think that they need to bring too many. I think it's cool to have crossover and to see actors like fulfill roles and characters, and you see the same person being that person. Just like if you see Tony Stark, if you see that's Iron Man, he is Iron Man. Like Robert Downey Jr. That's what I was trying to think of. I couldn't think of his name. You see Robert Downey Jr., that's Iron Man. Anybody else tries to play Iron Man, it's going to be weird. At the same time, you don't need to put too many people into this movie and have too many storylines going on. I think a brief cameo is good. To go on, you're just going to get a busy movie that's just going to be hard to keep up with, especially if you're kind of like me. I don't have any idea what Jessica Jones is. Like, you said that, and I was like, that's Marvel? Like, I don't even know what you're talking about. For somebody like me, if that character shows up, you got to explain a little bit of who it is. And so if they try to do that with multiple characters while you're still trying to make a movie about Spider-Man, and it's just going to be too much, and you're going to have a movie full of really short storylines, and it's just, I don't know, I don't think it's going to be that good if you overload it.
Let me say a couple things about 2 things that you talked about. The first thing you mentioned was, okay, there's a lot of people, Jesse, I'm glad you said that, because there's a lot of people that have that mindset and mentality, like, oh, nobody can play Wolverine as good as Hugh Jackman could, or nobody can play Batman as good as old Christian Bale. And hey, there's nothing wrong with that mindset. A lot of people think that way. Same thing with Tony Stark. I am of the opposite camp. Even currently, Disney apparently thinks the same way you do, Jesse, because they don't want to reboot or recast Black Panther. Chadwick Boseman passed away, and they're like, you know what? We're not going to touch this character. we're just going to continue to tell stories within that universe, but we're not going to recast Black Panther. I personally think that's the wrong decision because that's his legacy being carried on. Just like 007, we've had so many different actors play 007 over the years. It's still 007, and the legacy just continues to grow and grow with each interpretation of the character. When you do that, I don't know, then it kind of really just cements that mindset even more. Like, you know, if 10 years later, we never recasted Black Panther, then audiences are really just going to be like, do like that whenever they finally recast Black Panther. They're like, this is not my Black Panther. I can see that mindset and that mentality, I guess, but yeah. I personally don't agree with it. What do you think?
I guess I'm really on the fence of it because, for example, think of Flash. Okay, you got Flash. I know this is DC, but you have Flash the show, and then you have Flash in Justice League, and they're two different people, right? Or am I wrong about that? It's two different characters. Yeah. There's nothing really wrong with that, but at the same time, if you got Flash out there being played by 20 different people, I think it's a little bit better just to hone in and love one person, you know, or character, and see it be, if they're doing a good job, just keep them, you know, until it gets old and you have to kind of restart. But it's okay at the same time. You had 3 different Hulks of recent times, anyways. And that's been okay, you know. So I don't know. I'm kind of on the fence. I see it both ways, and I don't really hardcore like it's got to be this way or it's got to be that way.
You know, I think it's one of those things. I think I've summed it up pretty good. But it would be weird for Kurt Cobain to be replaced like right after he died. You know what I mean? Like for somebody else to come out and start singing their music. Like it's not his voice, right?
That's happened before, by the way, not with Nirvana, but with other bands. Drowning Pool comes to mind.
And you know, it always splits people. There's always going to be, you know, a group that's like, oh yeah, this band never dies. And then there's always going to be those like purists who don't even put like cream in their coffee ever and flip off anybody who does. You know, that there's always going to be that divide. I'm more in your camp overall as far as having, I think it's great to try to mix all these storylines. I think that it takes a lot of finesse to make a movie that is you can watch in one sitting, for you also have something to digest rather than to have another occurrence of like the first Suicide Squad where you had like 18 storylines. And like basically if that movie would have been, you know, just the commercial, it would have been awesome. And then when they tried to actually, you know, execute on what we were prepped for, it just fell flat. And I think it was because, and I think they did better than the second movie. I know you guys have already hashed it out, but I think that that's a good, like, you know, sort of a template for what is going to happen. Not saying that they should copy it, but it's a good example of, you know, ways that can be done well and things that can be done wrong.
Luke,
I do did a lot better.
Have you forgotten that we're talking about Marvel here? These are the masters and the originators and the pioneers of creating these multiversal type movies or multi-character movies and bringing all these characters together and making it work. Don't forget Infinity War, Endgame. If anybody can do it, it's Kevin Feige, Disney, and Marvel. The Holy Trinity.
I think based on their track record with what they did with these Netflix series, I think that they'll make a turd blended sandwich. Because
the Netflix division was a completely different thing. We're just talking about bringing these characters back either for a cameo or permanently, whatever. But don't get it twisted. It's not the people that were in charge of Netflix Marvel. This is Marvel that would either be bringing them back or not.
Oh, okay. Well, then I give it a thumbs up. Because, you know, Daredevil is, I want that to be done right. You know, I was a fan of the one with
Ben Affleck.
Ben Affleck. Yeah. See, I liked him as Daredevil. I wasn't a huge fan as Batman. He was kind of a whiny little. He wasn't my classic Batman. But
hashtag not my Batman.
Not my Batman, dude. No, it's hard to replace Christian Bale. But no, I mean, you know, I'm not somebody who's like gonna give up on any new Batman ever. Like Christian Bale, I don't think anybody will top him for quite a while. I don't think Ben Affleck even is entering the same building as or fit for the same building as Christian Bale in that regard. But I'm open to the Twilight Vampire, giving it a go. That looks like it's going to be interesting. So I'm not somebody who's like married to a certain actor, but I'm not gonna say that I'm just open to anybody stepping in the shoes. And to re-divert back to what I was saying, I just have to reinforce that what they did with Daredevil Netflix series, I thought it was trash. So it's interesting to hear somebody who thought it was great. I found it to be cheesy, melodramatic, more like a soap opera. The Kingpin, is that his name? The Kingpin, the big guy. Yeah, I mean, he was just kind of unbelievable. I mean, he was kind of like the loner that sits by himself at lunch and now like kind of nerdy, puts together his Lego sets, and then all of a sudden he's a super villain, and now he's like compensating, trying to pretend he's cool at this point, if that makes sense. Like he all of a sudden has maybe that's my own spin on it, but I was not a huge fan of that development.
Yeah, I would definitely say that you're in the minority if you did not like the Netflix Daredevil. But, that doesn't mean everyone, that's the thing. Film, TV shows, they are all subjective. Everyone, has different opinions. And hey, even if your opinion's wrong, I still support you as an individual. And dude, I couldn't disagree more. Like, I think that was one of the best things about this version of Kingpin. They showed you him, they stripped him down to his core. They literally showed you why he does what he does. He was abused as a young boy. He had a very traumatic experience and ended up killing his father. Like, they go into some gritty, dark details about this character, and they really show you he has this white painting in his room that he hangs up. It's just literally like a white painting that has like some minor designs in it or whatever. But why does he always look at that painting every night? They tell you why, because that was his calm literally after he stabbed his father in the back of the skull. Like, he looked at that white painting, or the white wall, or when his father would get abusive or, start hitting the booze hard, he would look at the white wall, and that was his peace. I love that version of Kingpin. However, and I, like I said, I love the Netflix Daredevil TV show was probably my favorite all-time superhero show ever. With that being said, though, it was so strong. Seasons 1, 2, and 3, each one had its own elements. The first one, Kingpin, really, and then second season, The Punisher versus Daredevil, was phenomenal. Third season, they bring in that new villain, Bullseye. Oh, God. But anyway, don't get me started on that. Whether or not I think it's a good idea, like I think I said earlier in this video, maybe I said it, maybe I didn't, maybe I just think that I said it, but I didn't. Either way, I don't think it's a good idea. Like I said, I think it's cool and fun that these characters, look, I'm living and dying by the sword right here. I just talked about earlier, I don't think it's a good idea to not recast Black Panther. Same thing with Daredevil. We don't need to carry this old crap from times gone by. We need to reboot Daredevil. Definitely need to reboot Iron Fist and all these other characters. We need to make everything new again. Same thing with the X-Men. Sure, bring in Hugh Jackman, but don't you try to connect these Marvel movies to some of those crappy X-Men films of the past. Some of those X-Men films were good, yes, but most of them were complete and utter shite.
Man, I feel like we got to talk about that, but we don't have time.
We can talk about it a little bit.
Unfortunately, these movies are so daggum old. I'm starting to fade, but I have positive memories of at least the majority of those X-Men movies.
Me too.
X-Men.
And I will say, the reboot idea. The reboot idea. The reboot idea is not something that I am as willing to jump on a train with you on. I think that a reboot periodically is a good thing, but only when you're forced to, because
you're forced to. Hugh Jackman is 50 something years old. He can't be Wolverine for the next 10, 15 years. I'm sorry. It's just not going to happen.
Hand the guy a walker, make it the same type of steel that he has in his bones, with that, like, I know it's not steel, but whatever alloy he's got. Right. And then, make that a part of his character. Shoot, dude, we already have one disabled individual on X-Men, right? You got the guy with the wheelchair, and he's like one of the strongest characters. I mean, I think that Hugh Jackman has a lot to offer as long as he's got a pulse.
I
I mean, literally, you know, the Marvel guy, I don't know what his relationship is, but I know he's like basically the CEO of all Marvel characters. That he unfortunately recently passed away. I loved his addition, but you know, he was like, he had a
Stan
cameo
Lee.
in every
He was the
movie.
creator of the characters.
Yeah, whatever he did.
Oh God. Okay, guys. Well, hey, like we said earlier in the video, we're not sure if this is going to happen yet or not. So we're not reporting this as fact or as news or anything like that. At this point, we're just speculating. So guys, thank you so much for joining me today. We'll see what happens, whether or not you guys think that Daredevil and all these characters from the Netflix universe should join the MCU. Let us know in the comments. If you haven't already, make sure you like, share, and subscribe to the video. You can look us up on Facebook at Comic Book Cinema, also on Instagram at Real Comic Book Cinema. Luke, Jesse, do you guys have anything you want to plug?
Nah, I don't do anything.
All right, guys.
I want to put in a plug into being good to your neighbor and doing relative good deeds.
That's a very good plug, Luke. Very good plug. Well, guys, thank you for joining me. Have a great day.